By D. Najong. Welcome back, subscribers. I've been trying to change up the intro, if anyone noticed. I just figured it'd be pretty cool if I said hello and welcome in Hmong and in Lao. Because what the fuck, I might as well. I mean, I don't just speak 3 languages for nothing. So yeah, I wanted to make this week's episode just a little bit about just some lessons that I've learned about myself. Sometimes it's like you subconsciously realize things about yourself. Okay, I think I've said this before. It's one thing to know what the problem is, but it's another thing to know how to fix that problem or how to resolve those issues. Because identifying the problem is the first thing. And most people don't get past that. I am just so grateful to have the people that I have in my life. We were just talking about this yesterday. We were talking about how there's just certain people that you can comfortably have certain conversations with, and there's some people in your life that you just simply can't go to for deep intellectual, insightful conversations about your mental health or your business or your, whatever it is. Some people in your life are just strictly there for the comfort of maybe convenience, maybe just simply comfort, it's comfortable. You guys have a good relationship from because of your past and whatever. My whole point is that sometimes, most people, I don't want to say this in a harsh way, but most of the time, you have to learn to identify what level you can meet someone at. You have to learn what you can and cannot share with certain individuals in your life. And it's not to say that people don't change or people don't progress, because I definitely believe that it's possible for just about anyone to change and progress and be better versions of themselves. That has been essentially my life's ambition to do, is to inspire people to be better versions of themselves. From this conversation that I've had recently, I have learned that I cannot be at the forefront of it. I can't push anyone to be those versions of themselves before they can realize that it's possible for themselves. I can't want it more for someone else, is essentially what I'm trying to say. I think it's really hard for me to draw the line there, because when I care about people and I love people and I see them and I understand that I've been in that place before. I've gotten out of that. And I know it's possible for you too as well. It's really hard for me to just turn around and walk away. I have a hard time disconnecting myself from guiding people, from leading people to the path that I believe they deserve. When I see and I realize that they are not ready for it, not saying that they're not ever going to reach it, they just can't see it for themselves yet. I had this conversation and we were just simply talking about the fact that I have a hard time, as I said in the past, I have a hard time letting go of control of a lot of things, especially the way things turn out in uncertain and unsure situations. I have such a hard time letting go of what I expect to happen. I want to micromanage every single thing. I don't know what's going to happen with my life next. The path that I'm choosing to go down, I might fail a few fucking times, but I don't know when I'm going to call it success. I don't know when I'm going to call it a complete failure. There is no timeline for that shit. You feel me? It's just quite interesting how I am, I'm just a person who's been so conditioned to feeling responsible and taking on the responsibility of other people and making sure that, and always trying to make sure that everything is done in the right ways. I say that with quotations in case you're listening and not watching the video. Well, obviously it's the conditioning that I've had growing up, thinking that there is only one way, only one right way to do things, instead of breaking out of that fear of what the possibilities could be. You know what I mean? My biggest thing is focusing right now is trying to focus on what could go right in my life as I'm going down this very scary part of my life. As I've come to this like pivotal part of my life, like I'm noticing that there have been times and times again that life and the universe has been trying to show me that I need to let go of my ideas or my expectations of what situations are supposed to be, because it's not that I shouldn't have expectations. It's just that I have to understand that I will be disappointed. And in so many ways, the universe has shown me time and time again that I need to just let loose and just let things happen the way that they're meant to be. Everything's going to unfold exactly the way it's meant to be. And I just need to trust that. Because the more I try to like resist from what's just simply meant to happen, the more hurt I tend to get. I know I keep reflecting on the last year, but like, yo, like this last year has just really changed my fucking life. It's really been so pivotal for me and my personal growth. Sometimes like I find myself so impatient about my growth because I see so many endless opportunities and like directions that this could go, and I just get so impatient with getting to that point because I feel like I should have been much further along in this evolution, in this journey, but I have to trust and believe that like I'm right exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like, yeah, okay. Like I think it's mostly because I get really angry at myself when I reflect back on things. Like when I realize the universe was already telling me this like 4 or 5 times in the last however many, however long. And I just was failing to see it. I was just failing to process it. And I think it's like I said, it's one thing to recognize that there's a problem and to recognize the actual problem. But then it's a totally different thing to actually figure out how to resolve that issue, how to fix that problem. And I'm not saying that, like, I don't want to say problem as in like it's something that terrible or that negative, because sometimes it's just a conditioning of your upbringing. It's a conditioning of the societal norms that you're being fed as you're growing up, as you're becoming a person of your own. And there is no right or wrong way. But to me personally, I think that there's certain things in my ways of thinking that are truly a problem to who I want to be. You know what I mean? So there's really no right or wrong way, but just my personal growth and like I said, who I want to become has a problem with some of my old ways, some of my conditioned thinking and conditioned beliefs. And so, therefore, I've identified those things, but it's taking me a little while to get to kind of lead myself to where I want to be. And having this conversation really like helped open my eyes to like understand myself as a person. In any relationship dynamic in my life, whether it's with friends, family, or even in dating, because again, I say this often, but anytime I refer to relationships, your relationships with the world and with people, like I refer to it as the same because it is one and the same. Like I feel like you should always have a certain level of consideration and thoughtfulness to anyone that you keep close to you, whether it's your friend or your significant other. That's just me personally. But I've learned more about me as an individual and how I interact with the world in the realm of wanting better for other people. Now, I know that the universe has told me this time and time and again. And some of the people that have been close to me have told me time and time and again. But sometimes it just takes a few times, and I need to be in the right place to finally process it. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard many times in which I am trying to simply encourage someone to be better versions of themselves. And sometimes I also realize that in me trying to be honest and tell someone that I feel like some of their... Okay, so this is going to sound confusing, maybe just follow me, okay? So I've been in a lot of situations where I have told someone close to me how they make me feel based off of certain actions that they've done. And the way that I can come off sometimes can be quite offensive and abrasive, because in a lot of ways I've realized that me doing that is still somewhat operating in my own ego and coming from a very selfish place, rather than taking into consideration what that other person might be going through and what level I can even meet them at. And I think I kind of let certain things get in my head too much, where I'm like, and I'm not trying to blame it on anyone else but myself. Like, I know I'm absolutely responsible for my own actions, but what causes my actions or decisions or how I come across when I'm trying to offer encouragement and trying to make people realize that they could do better, it can sound really condescending. It can sound very arrogant. It can sound very selfish and demeaning. I can come off as someone who simply is not willing to love someone the way that they are and for who they are. And maybe, well, not even maybe, I think it's truly genuinely just a reflection of, or me projecting onto them, because I'm probably... those are probably characteristics in myself that I don't find strength in. Like, for example, I think one of the most very prominent moments in my life about 6 months ago, where I was just kind of on someone's ass about not being understanding and being introspective enough to like hear me out and how I was feeling, when in reality, I wasn't really giving this person the chance to even be there for me or to even love me in general. It was truly, genuinely a huge part in who I was. When I say that, I mean, like, I just was simply acting and maybe reacting out of fear rather than just trusting that this person could show up for me the way that they could and the way that they were capable of showing up for me. I was always just so afraid that what this person was able to give me and how they were able to show up for me wasn't going to be enough for me. But deep down, like, I didn't even know. I still don't even know how much I need that person to show up for me. I still don't even know at what level I'm able to accept things from this person, whether it's the love, the care, the time. Like, I didn't even understand what I needed from this person, essentially. I think it gets really confusing. I hope that y'all are sticking with me on this, okay? Just stick with me on this. It's so difficult to project expectations onto someone when everyone is extremely different. I'm not at the same level of emotional intelligence as the person next to me. You know, like no one's ever going to be on the same emotional intelligence level at every single moment, at every single given moment, because everyone has a different experience. When I'm not in the moment with in a situation, I can take a step back and see someone individually for who they are and like their individualized experience, and understand that they may not have made that progression yet as I have. But when you're deep in the shits, this is why relationships are so fucking hard, because when you're in the moment and your emotions are high, your feelings are hurt, it is hard to see the other person as, it is hard to separate your feelings and yourself from the situation in general. It's hard to have compassion when you're feeling hurt and you're feeling like you need to defend yourself. I know I'm not the only person that can relate to this feeling, because based off my own research, based off of data that I've collected, a lot of us struggle with managing our own emotions and our own feelings, as well as trying to keep it neutral and be considerate of the other person's point of view and the other person's experience in this. And I can speak, like right now, like I can speak on it and be like, oh yeah, I'm fully aware that I have been selfish and I've only been thinking of myself and my feelings when I'm in the middle of not necessarily an argument, but maybe a disagreement, right? I can totally say those things right here, right now. But like, I don't know how I'm going to react when I'm in the middle of it again, when I have a disagreement with someone again. In so many ways, I've learned so much in the last year about myself and who I am in the world. When I think back to the situation from 6 months ago, I think of how differently I could have and should have reacted. And it's not to say that I regret anything, because things worked out the way that it was supposed to work out. But it was a huge lesson that I had to learn, and I took too long to learn those things. And that's what makes me mad, is that had I just listened to the universe and listened to every single time that this lesson came up for me before this happened, I'd be in a whole different ballgame right now. I don't know what could have happened. I mean, things could have worked out for the best, which would have been that I wouldn't have lost this person in my life. Or things could have turned out for the worst too, and we'd still not be talking. I don't know. I don't know what could have happened. But that's what I mean when I say I get angry at the fact that I cannot reach the potential that I know I have sooner than later, you know, because it's like I could have caused myself so much less pain if I just fucking processed this shit sooner. But it just wasn't the right time for me to finally overcome that lesson. When I look back, I'm like, bro, you know how many times the universe sent this to me? There were other incidents before this where I was shown that I need to be more compassionate. I need to be more understanding of everyone's individual experiences, and that I can only allow someone to meet me where they're able to meet me at. I understand that the reason I have a hard time letting go of that control and letting go of the idea that someone needs to be exactly the way that I think they should be, like I have to let that go, because it's only gonna make me suffer more. Even though my intention is to encourage people to be better and to open up their eyes for better and open up their minds and their hearts for better, the way that I come across can be, again, demeaning. It can be anything but encouraging. And especially when someone has deep feelings or emotions for you and they care about you, it comes really, like it comes across really personal. And it seems like they're making you feel like you're not good enough for them. And I've been in that situation before. And that's what gets me even more. Like, that's what, like, I'm laughing about it because it's like, I've been in that situation before. Because I I was the person on the other end who was not necessarily receiving the criticism, but in my point of view, like it seemed like criticism because it's coming from someone who I expect to love me and treat me with respect and to accept me fully for who I am. But they're trying to tell me that I need to be better for them because I'm not good enough for them. So I understand how it feels to be told that in so many ways, but that way, that you are not good enough for them because you haven't reached X, Y, and Z level of emotional intelligence or whatever the fuck. I completely understand that I can come off that way, that the way I project my expectations onto people can make someone feel like they are not good enough for me. I know now that subconsciously that might have been what I was thinking. Like, yes, of course, my ultimate intention was pure, that I wanted better for them. But was I wanting better for them, or was I wanting better for them so they could treat me how I wanted them to treat me and show up for me the way that I wanted them to show up for me? Instead of just realizing that they are who they are and that's how they can show up for me and I should love them that way. Or not, like, I mean, everyone's going to make their own choices on what they're willing to accept. I know a lot of that has to do with even societal norms that have been fed to me over time. And I'm someone who likes to absorb a lot of information. And I'm not saying that I don't like to be my individual person, but sometimes when I trust certain people's judgment or opinion of things, I become so stuck on like receiving their opinion and their perspective of things, when I need to take a step back from that and realize that I am my own person and that I need to think for myself and realize what I feel like is acceptable. And this all comes with trusting yourself. I know this sounds insane. Like, I feel like I just went on a crazy ass rant. But this all comes with trusting yourself. What I mean by that is, like, I know everyone always says, like, trust yourself, but that takes a lot of work, like a lot of work. Just like in any relationship in life, once the trust is broken between you and someone else, you probably feel like the trust can never be rebuilt, right? You can't do that with yourself. Like, you have to literally work on that relationship between yourself and how you can learn to trust yourself again. Like, you cannot get the fuck around that. Like, there is no shortcut to that. There is no way that you cannot work on that relationship. Like, you have to literally sit in that discomfort and learn to re-trust yourself again. That was one of the first things that I had to learn about when I was really deep in the shits and really going hard in my healing, was learning to trust myself again. And you know what it starts with? It starts with the small things, keeping your promises to yourself, keeping those little commitments to yourself. Like, every morning, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. on the first alarm. I'm going to take my dogs out. I'm going to come back, make my bed, go to the bathroom, get breakfast, relax a little, decompress, let my mind wake up, listen to some good music. Oh, side note, by the way, I have an alarm on my Alexa. Sorry, I didn't want to say that too loud because she gonna hear me. I have a wake up routine. So she basically tells me what time it is, what day it is, and tells me what the weather is. And when I used to go to work, well, I mean, I still go to work, but like, I don't wake up to go to work anymore. But she would tell me like what the traffic is like on my way to work. And so that way I understand like what time I need to leave the house by. But I'd wake up, and then once that part of the routine passes, next thing she does is I set it to where she plays a song that makes me feel happy, that brings joy to me, and the way that waking up like that, how good that makes me feel. It's like, yo, there's some days where I wake up and I'm crying because I'm so fucking filled with joy, just because that one song came on in my wake up routine and it made me feel fucking good. I know it sounds crazy and it sounds strange, but it just brings a certain level of happiness and puts me in the right state of mind for my day. When I first started this routine, it was because I was in a place in my life where I was like, I just want to always stay and operate from a place of love. I had like a couple songs that I would play, and it would be Snow Allegra, I Want You Around, just simply because, like, come on, that song is beautiful, okay? It makes me feel warm inside. And Sid has a song called Sweet. Sweet is so, it's like, it's just so beautiful. Okay, like you just got to go listen to them. But those were like the start of my day. Like that's how I'm going to start my day in a positive light and feel the warmth and embrace how beautiful life really is, right? Like that's how I would wake up. And it's kind of funny because so the first part of the routine, if I don't want to hear it, I just tell her to shut the fuck up. Like I literally set it to where like the alarm only turns off if I say shut the fuck up, because I might wake up angry and say shut the fuck up because I don't want to hear the alarm. But then the music cues and then I'm in a good mood again. But that's how I can just like make sure that I get up in the morning. The only way to get me up is to get me up angry and then play me some music and I'll relax and I'm chill. That was a total side note. Rebuilding the trust that you have with yourself, and that is literally one of the first things you should and can do to learn to love yourself again, or at all. In some cases, once you learn to trust yourself more and you start to show up for yourself more, it then starts to grow and develop into love. This doesn't have to just apply for your relationship with yourself. Like this is kind of things that I would think I would apply to external relationships, like with other people in my life. Doing small things to build the trust, to show up for one another, and then learning to love each other through that. Part of me learning to love myself was to learn to trust myself again. And I forget so often that I can trust myself more than I actually do. And I need a lot of reminders that I am trustworthy, that I can believe in my judgment, and that I am a better and a healer. I am a better and more healed version of myself than I was yesterday, last week, last month, last year, what the fuck ever. I am a better version of myself. And sometimes, like, that's why I'm like, you can't just say the past is the past, because yes, the past is the past. You cannot change it. But the point is that you have to use it to look at your progression, to understand your progression, to understand how far you've come, to remind yourself that you have made it through worse, that you can continue to go forward. Because I was lacking in that a lot. I would probably say like I wasn't checking in with myself often. And I wasn't asking myself like, how well do I trust myself about this? How well can I believe I'm making the right choice for myself? I wasn't doing that enough, and I was doing that with other people, asking other people for their advice. And that all comes with conditioning from, of course, trauma that I've been through. Like, not only in that abusive relationship was I so used to being fed the truth, the quote unquote truth. When I was breaking out of that, like what I like to call like a cloud of abuse, when I was breaking out of those habits and I was finally coming to a realization that a lot of this is wrong, I'm being manipulated, I would talk to people close to me and ask them for their advice, because I was unsure of myself. Because I was unsure of what's really my thoughts and what's his thoughts. What's really best for me and what's not, because he's manipulating me. And so obviously, like, I was looking for those external confirmations and validations. I've been carrying that same mindset this entire time, and I didn't even realize it because I was so used to, again, not being able to trust my own judgment. I was also beating myself up a lot because I didn't feel like I could trust myself because I kept going back. I kept getting myself out of the situation, but then going back, choosing to go back again, time and again. And I beat myself up for that all the time. But having to realize that, like, I wasn't in the right place, which is why I wasn't in the right place mentally, which is why I kept making the wrong choices. But it's not because I didn't trust myself or that I subconsciously didn't know what was right and what was wrong. For me, in that situation, I couldn't have a mind of my own then. But having to relearn that it is okay that you make mistakes, but as long as you did what you trusted yourself was the best choice, then, like, you have nothing to look back and regret on. As I look back on this situation from like 6 months ago, I've grown to realize that I kind of went back into the same mindset again. I was looking for external validation on a situation that nobody else was experiencing but me. Like, why was I trusting someone else's opinion of a situation that I was living in, that I was experiencing? And it all comes from my lack of deconditioning myself from other people's opinions of things, and me and my distrust of myself and my judgment of character. And that should have never been the case. Again, I can't emphasize enough, I don't regret anything. I just realize now that I was just uncovering a lot of truths behind the decision-making process that I had back then. I was, in the last year, because even, let me even sidetrack again. The other day I was, Snapchat gives you memories, and so does TikTok now too. It gives you memories on this day, like this is whatever. So it came up with some of my video diaries that I had from a year ago. A year ago, I was still going through the same thing. I was watching this video diary that I made because I didn't have the podcast yet. So I was still doing video diaries, and I still do them occasionally, but like through the podcast, I've been able to process things a lot more. But okay, so last year I had a video diary entry that essentially I was talking about conflicting feelings that I had about someone, and actually it wasn't even about someone in general. Like, it was mostly about me and how I was feeling about like my dating life at the time. Because I was in a place where I think I was still just so hurt from my last relationship. So I had never been dumped before then. I had never been dumped before, and I was just like, damn, that was a hit to my ego. But also, I just had never, it was a hit to my ego. It was more of like, yo, I always thought that I was this amazing fucking person, and who the fuck, like, you're crazy to not want to be with me. I know I got issues and I know I'll be toxic, but like, there's no way that you don't want to be with me. But anyways, like, I just was extremely, very much still hurt and still unhealed from not only that relationship, but also all of my other past relationships, there were just a lot of things that I had yet to work through. And mind you, like, my last relationship, I hadn't been with anyone for 2 years at that point. It was the first relationship that I had since my abusive relationship. And even in between there was 2 years in between. And I absolutely did not date a single person. Didn't even entertain the idea of dating someone. Wouldn't even look at somebody. Was disgusted with people. Like, I never thought that I would ever date again after my abuser. In that situation, I learned a lot of shit. Like, I had to face so many realities about who I was and about how toxic I really was, and what role I played in causing the suffering that I experienced in past relationships. And that's not to deflect from what that person's done to me either. It's just simply to accept my responsibility and the things that I control, right? So anyways, last year I was just going through it. It was probably about 5 or 6 months after the breakup. And I even said to myself, I say this all the time, and this is why I don't say it anymore. I simply don't say it anymore. But after that relationship, I had said to myself, I said, I am never dating the fuck again. Like, never anything. Like, I'm not looking at no man. I ain't kissing no man. I ain't touching no man. I'm never, ever dating again. And I told myself that, and I said those things. Obviously, I was fooling myself, because eventually I got over that relationship. Well, I got over that relationship enough to start dating again, but nothing serious, of course. And that's what I kept telling myself, was like, oh, this doesn't count because it's not serious. It's not a commitment. It's not a relationship. And I kept telling myself those things without even realizing that my feelings were serious, that my feelings were real. I mean, it was real for me. I genuinely don't know how it was for the other person. And I may not ever know, even if it worked out for the best. Like, will I ever know that if it was true, if it was real, if it was just as deep for this person? I don't know. But this is me being vulnerable, okay? And I doubt this person's ever going to listen to this, so they'll never know. I don't, honestly, and I don't even care if this person does listen, because if he does hear this, then fuck it, oh well. But no, on some real shit, I'm about to be super, 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 super vulnerable. And I think these are things that I was totally afraid to admit for so fucking long. So here I go, admitting it. So I had this video diary entry last year around this time, and it was a level of confusion that I was experiencing, of course, because not only was he confusing me, I was confusing myself. I was denying myself a lot of things. And I probably could have saved myself some suffering if I just stopped denying things. And I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know what could have happened. I don't know what the future could have been. But I just kept projecting what I felt like the future was going to be, because I was so afraid of getting hurt. I was just so afraid of him hurting me, when I didn't realize that I was going to end up hurting myself. In many ways, he kind of said the same thing to me, and I just didn't care to really listen. And it's kind of crazy, because it's like, someone told me, my ex, my last relationship, actually told me that he said this to me before, and I just never gave a fuck to listen, apparently. He would always tell me, like, you never want to trust me and what I say and the things that I do to prove to you that I'm there for you, that I care about you, that I'm trying to do what I feel like is best for you. You never want to trust me, and you never just let me do those things for you, because it's almost like you don't think that I'm good enough. There was some point in which, like, he would say that, and it would get me emotional, because I can see the hurt and, like, the pain in the way that he would tell me this, because, like, it is hurtful to know that your significant other doesn't trust you. That's painful. That's painful. Like, your partner doesn't trust you with their emotions, their well-being, their, like, any of it. Anything that you are trying to advise them on, they don't trust you enough. There were times where, like, yeah, of course, like, that sort of processed for me at some points, but, like, again, subconsciously, I just react the way that I do, because still traumatized, still working through the complexities of what I've been through. I have a tendency to let people in and let people close to me and try to let them love me. I still fall back and resort to closing off myself. It's like I let them in just enough, and then I push them back out. I just realized that I did that a lot. What was so hard for me to get over that relationship was just having to rack my brain and understand that like I had so many faults in the situation, but now like the way that things have played out in the last like 6 months, I absolutely truly believe that us breaking up was way fucking for the best. Okay, like it was the best thing that ever happened to me. The best thing that ever happened to me. And so necessary, so fucking necessary. And I would never think to go back to that again. Because in so many ways, like, I was so unsure. Like, I felt it in my gut. Like, this had to be right. Like, you know, this had to happen. But then I would let my doubt creep up on me again and let him back in my life. Even in the smallest of ways, I tried to downplay it and say, oh, we're just friends. We're just friends. But in reality, like, there was still somewhat of some romantic feelings left behind, of course. Something that happened about 6 months ago between us, like, it solidified my choice and my decision to never speak to him again. Because it just processed for me that, like, he was never the person that I thought he was. And that was due to my expectations and my projection of it, my expectations onto him. I don't say this to like shit on him or bash him, because I realized that he tried his best. He really did. I just wasn't the right person. All the work and the effort that he put into the relationship, I just wasn't the right person to receive that at the time. I feel terrible that I've hurt him in the process and that I might be a huge part in his villainous arc. But I don't put that responsibility on me, because everyone continues to choose how they want to proceed with who they are and how they live, you know, like how they love, I should say, how they love people. And yeah, it's unfortunate that I was unhealed and I couldn't receive the love that he was trying to give me, and I wasn't the person that he needed. Even when I've changed to be that person now, when we talked 6 months ago, it didn't feel like that was, like, that wouldn't have made a fucking difference. It never would have made a fucking difference, because we were just never going to be on the same page about shit. There were just way too many toxic tendencies and way too many awful things that have happened between us already, you know? And the respect just isn't there anymore for each other. This video diary entry from a year ago, it also just it just opened my eyes to like my state of mind this time last year. I was still very much hurt, very much confused about how I really felt about like my life. Again, it doesn't have to just apply to my dating life. Like, this could simply apply to like all relationships. I was just simply confused about everything. I was confused on whether or not I had the will to like proceed with dating. I feel like I still go back and forth on it. Like, I really don't know how I feel. Last year, I just wasn't expecting myself to like really develop feelings for anyone. And I think like it's super hard because I keep seeing myself for my faults, and I keep seeing and defining myself for like the mistakes that I've made and the bad parts of me, instead of just embracing everything. Like, I'm like the opposite of people. Like, most people are like super arrogant and like, I'm these great things, I'm amazing. But for me, I'm like, no, I'm this horrible fucking person because I do this, that, and the third. I forget that in loving yourself, you accept yourself fully for all the good and the bad, you know? And a year ago, I was just kind of like in a place where I wanted something serious, because like that's what I'm used to, and that's what, like, it would be great. It would be great to have consistency in my life. But I also knew that it could cause a lot of distractions from what I needed to focus on about myself and about the path that I needed to go down and the path that I needed to take and eventually am forced to take like now. That's like a lot of the hesitation that I had. I think that I downplayed a lot of my feelings. I tried to deny the fact that I could actually love again, that I could actually feel deeply for someone again. after being hurt another fucking time. I guess that's the best way I can put it. And I caught myself recently almost going down this path again, and not even in regards to romantic relationships, but friendships. This weekend, shit was just sinking in for me. I just started to think there were just things that were revealed to me, that were uncovered to me, that made me process a lot of people that I would consider a friend. They're just not trustworthy. It's not to offend them in any way. Some people just don't deserve certain levels of your trust. Doesn't make them any less of a person. Doesn't mean that they're not good people. I was just hurt recently by someone really close to me, and I almost lashed out and was just like, fuck everyone. Fuck all my supposed friends. Fuck all the people that claim to be there to support me. I almost went into that state of mind again. And I'm like, nah. You have so many great people in your life that fulfill you in so many different ways. So what if you can't talk to so-and-so about your real life problems because they can't understand? So what if you can't go to that person because about your emotional and intellectual growth because they can't see past their own they can't even see past their own selves, and they're always on their high horse. It doesn't make them any less of a person. It doesn't mean that they're purposeless or that they're meaningless. It just gives them a different purpose in your life. I have to learn to decipher those things myself. That video diary from a year ago just helped put into perspective where I was a year ago. I was doubting myself. I was doubting this person, that this person could ever show up for me the way that they claim that they would. But I never gave them the chance to. And that also comes full circle because 6 months ago I had a conversation with my ex from my last relationship about, well, it was more of an argument, and he was just really throwing jabs at me. And he was just more so telling me that he was just throwing jabs at me and just telling me that I am never going to let anyone close to me the way that I let him close to me. It's a terrible thing. It's a sad thing that I would never allow that to happen again. He was obviously not saying that to encourage me to heal from it. I feel like a year ago, in the situation that I was in, I was making someone else suffer for the mistakes that I made in my past relationship, as well as what my ex had made, as well as the mistakes that my ex had made in that relationship. I was projecting those things onto him. I was projecting those things onto someone new. It's terrible because this went on for months. I was just a terrible fucking person. I was just a terrible person when it came to opening up. I guess I never realized until now that I wasn't being vulnerable. I wasn't being open with this person. So he never felt comfortable doing it with me. I realize and I understand what I did. I was also very harsh, very critical of this person. I was being too controlling and too pushy. When in reality, parts of me during that situation, during that dynamic, parts of me was always willing to accept and love that person for who they are. Because I do. I see and I know this person differently from most people. Sometimes it's hard to overlook the exterior that some people put on, but I've known this person and I know that they're not who they seem to be to the world. I was allowing a lot of the external opinions of people to weigh in on how I actually felt about him. It had a lot to do with just his past. I wasn't even thinking about, there were just a lot of times in which I was forgetful of who I knew this person as. Personally, my own experience. I feel terrible because I wasn't creating a safe space for him to be himself, and I just wasn't being a good friend. I just wasn't being a good friend to him. But now I know better. I was actually having a different conversation. We were talking about how it's so difficult for us to date because of obviously our trauma and the things we've experienced, but it's very hard because we're also very bro-like. And I have this state of mind that I'm more of I'm so used to being a bro versus being just not. I don't know how to explain it. But we were talking about how we're just so used to kind of competing with men or with guys instead of understanding that, yeah, we can compete and more, but we don't have to be that way. Like, we don't have to flex. Being in your feminine is to just like let your energy speak for itself. Just the way that we were with our upbringing and our surroundings, we're so used to being in our masculine energy. And I don't know how else to say it, but just to be a pro. It's such a hard mindset to like break from when you're dating, I should say. It's very hard to break that state of mind, because I believe, at least, and I don't know. I don't know. I've never been in a successful relationship. I know, and I think I speak on this in past episodes as well. I know that what I have to work on is to bring my feminine energy to the forefront. I know that I need to operate more in that energy, because I'm so tired. Like, it's one thing to be the bro to the external fucking world, but when I'm at home and I'm with my partner, I'm with my significant other, I should want to, and I should be able to bring that energy down, put that shit away, and just be that softer version of myself and be within my divine feminine energy. I should be able to put that facade away. And it makes sense that he could never be that with me, because I was never that with him. That he couldn't just let his guard down and trust me, and that he could believe that I was there for him, to see the best for him, because I wasn't trusting him in that way. I wasn't trusting him with letting my guard down and turning off the bro in me. So it just like all comes full circle. In loving me and accepting of me is embracing that is a part of me, and that I am someone who presents more of the masculine energy to the outside world, but finding the right way to allow me to bring that feminine energy out when I'm with my person. I basically believe that I'll find that. I know it's somewhere out there for me. Last year I was just trying to convince myself so much that, oh yeah, I can be like detached. I can be the cool chick. I can be the one that doesn't need the commitment. Because I could, I could play that game. But letting it sink in that that's not really that's not really what I want. And that's not like I don't date just to date. Like, I date to marry. Like, I date to be locked in for life type shit. Realizing that while trying to casually date and then like denying it to yourself is a totally different ballgame. I went on with that for months. Up until about 6 months ago, I really didn't let it sink in that I really wanted those things, that I still had the desire to be loved, and I still had the desire to love someone in such a beautiful way. Because again, like, a lot of the external factors in my life were just telling me that it's weak as fuck to be loved. It's weak as fuck to let someone love you. It's weak as fuck to love someone. A lot of the people around me, a lot of the things that I've been surrounded by were just kind of convincing me otherwise. There were just so many external factors that were weighing into my opinion of things. I denied myself out of what could have been something beautiful, but I don't know. I mean, it still could have ended up in heartbreak and hurt, but I just will never know because I didn't try. So having this conversation this weekend, rewatching some of these video diaries from a year ago, just kind of all made me realize that I just wasn't really I was just denying myself of my own happiness by not trying. And that goes for everything in my life, not just relationships. This goes for my dreams with the podcast, my music, my business plan. I've put it all off for so fucking long. And now the world and the universe is like forcing me to fucking open my eyes to it and fucking do it. It's absolutely fucking easier said than done, especially when it comes to allowing people to love you and allowing people to show up for you, how they can show up for you. It's way fucking easier said than done. But I need to let it happen. I need to just let it happen and control what I can control. Stop operating in your fear, guys. Because it's inevitable. Like, we're always going to be put in situations where there's hard times and you're going to get hurt. You're going to be hurt. I've said this in the past. I'm not saying I condone ride or die, but I do condone trying. I do condone trying before quitting. How can you give yourself a chance before giving yourself a chance? Without giving yourself a chance? Like, how can you know that it's not right for you if you never gave it a chance? If you never tried? Yeah, of course it's messy to get your heart broken. And I don't mean that in just a romantic aspect. I mean in every aspect of life. Losing my job broke my heart. Losing my close friends broke my heart. The reality sinking in that most people that I was holding close to me was out of convenience and comfort and not out of personal growth. That broke my heart. Having to process and realize that people aren't able to show up for me the way that I need them to and the way that I want them to. That's breaking my own heart. But those are things that I have to let happen because I'll never grow from it. I'll never learn from it. Next time, I'll be better at choosing my friends. I'll be better at choosing a partner. Next time, I'll be better at making the choices that I need to make to achieve my dreams. Next time, I know that I am not defined by my occupation. So, I want to incorporate a question at the end of every episode. Something for you to ponder on and then maybe discuss on the next episode with you guys. To close out today's episode, I will ask you this. What do you do if someone, a stranger or whoever, came up to you and asked you, what do you do? Are you going to define yourself based off of your occupation and what you do for a living? Or will you define yourself as what you believe is your life purpose? It's a question that I have for myself, and I still have time to think about. I need to give it time to think about my answer, and I'm working through that part of my journey right now. Well, that's this week's episode. I think this is a pretty long one, but thanks so much, you guys, for listening. I'm getting through the comments and the messages, so I'm sorry if I'm not responsive immediately. But thank you guys for showing love and being there for me. As if this was me like maybe a year ago and I lost my job then, I'd probably be spiraling into a crazy depression right now. But I feel more in place than I've ever. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be. So thanks, you guys. 2 official weeks since I've been let go. I'm going to talk to you guys next week, Friday. Make sure you follow the pod on TikTok and Instagram at Suffering of Silence Pod. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube page. Even if you don't watch the video episodes, just subscribe anyways. I hope you have an answer for this question this week. Hopefully, I'll have a better answer by next week as well. But thanks so much, guys. I'm going to talk to you guys later. And thanks so much for, again, being subscribers.